Oh, there we go. Shoo.
This whole thing's up here because it says we're live on Facebook. Now it says we're live on StreamYard. It just kept
Yeah,
spinning. Then it said we had problems and
there we go. Yeah,
auspicious start. That's fine. We're still here. It's still live. It's still Wednesday at noon Eastern time. You can probably hear the sirens in the
the
back,
alarms are going off.
heralding our welcome arrival of the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, another great show on tap for you today. We have the video, of course, either live or on demand, however you want to do it. You can watch it anytime you want on Facebook, of course, at Temptations Beach, and then at Temptations on Twitter, and the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel as well, which seems to have the best video quality. Podcast, of course, you want to find that. Just search the High Noon Hemp Show on Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and on Spotify as well. I am Stoner Jesus. You can search my shenanigans on the interwebs. He is Beach, high above the Temptations in Sharonville, Ohio, at the Hemp Quarters. Beach, how are things so far this week in the world of Temptations?
Pretty darn good, I would say. Right out of the gate, I would like to acknowledge, and it is true, I am high above the Sharonville location. Thanks everybody for tuning in to today's show, the High Noon Hemp Show here and all those places. If you're watching later, we do appreciate it. I swear we do. Um, but actually, just personally in my world, which is a hemp world, is mostly hemp. That's true. Um, Today is Mary and I's 11th year anniversary.
Nice.
So,
Congratulations.
yep, it was our first date 11 years ago, where we found out that, or Mary confirmed basically that she was allergic to scallops. It was, and it wasn't, she didn't have to go to the hospital or anything, but that was a part of our first date. um, and I made her world a hemp world, I should say. She's, she jumped in, almost from the full beginning with a full commitment to making hemp her life, honestly, and still continues to do that every day. Um, so it's a hemp love. It's just love. That's all it is, and it's good. It's a good thing. So I don't know if we're going to celebrate that or not, but we are celebrating that. Um, look, I'm on Facebook right now, and the post is happy anniversary to us at 11:11, because it is 11:11 is one of, if not Mary's favorite numbers and times. And so we're always talking about it. But we actually, our first date was in 2011, and that was 11 years ago. So it's kind of an 11:11 thing. So anyway, that's it. That's all my non-hemp ranting for today's show. We do have a good one. A lot of stuff going on in the hemp world. It's true. And remember this, folks, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy, just so you know. So let's jump right in with it on this beautiful day. Uh, the products, we've got a new one here. This is a new disposable, and these are like unbelievable in my opinion, because what you have is you actually have it's a dual chamber, and so you have D8 and D10 on one side if you hit one side of it, and then you have HHCP and THCP on the other side. And so you're really getting four hemp extracts, four hemp byproducts there in one single hit if you want it. If you hit both buttons at the same time, crazy like that. Uh, and so these are new on the market, and of course we had to get some on the shelves. We're probably going to see a lot more of these disposable vapes switch over to these dual modules. I'm guessing in the future, honestly, because you get more choices one way or another. So part of some of the stuff I picked up last week when I stopped by Lancaster Trading is the Canna-Fizz. These are basically CBD soft drinks, come in 5 flavors. I heard that the employees tried the root beer and they said it tasted like root beer. I know that they're using good ingredients. It's pure sugar. Whatever you feel about sweeteners, sugar is the best option if you're trying to do something like sodas instead of some synthetic sweetener or I'm sure there may be others that work just as well, but I think you really have to get back to that real sugar to get that that real soft drink taste. Um, and again, sugar is as long as it's in moderation. Don't drink 12 of these in a day. Sugar is bad if you get a lot of it. If you have a little bit of sugar, it's not so bad. And again, it's much better for the human body than synthetic sweeteners, regardless. And I think there's 20 milligrams of CBD in these. Um,
15 and 25 looks like.
15 to 25. Oh, I didn't know there was actually a range. I didn't know different flavors had different levels. So there you go. You can pick your flavor and or pick your milligram of CBD, depending on how much you want or need, one way or another. And so, yeah, these are. I'm gonna have to try one. I know I shouldn't say that. I did try one. I tried the lemon citrus when I was over there visiting Lancaster Trading House over in Pennsylvania, Hempsel's, for the record, if you want to go search for them online. Um, and it was good in a sense that again, you can tell that they're kind of natural, even with the flavorings. I think being better because it's very mild. It's not overbearing. So it's basically just a little bit of lemony, uh, sparkling water, as you would say, soft drink, but available in all the stores for a limited time. I might have to drive over there to get more, but if we sell it all, I might just do that. And so, get yourself some Canafizz CBD soft drinks and make sure and recycle that bottle. How about some top hand glove kids gloves? We have never had these, and I think they're top hand glove. They were part of, and they may not be actually made by. But again, he had just bought a bunch of top hand glove inventory um, over at the Lancaster Chain House, and he had these. So I assumed they're top hand glove, but I'm not positive. But picture a kid's glove. They're about half the size of a regular glove. I think they'll be really warm because they're actually pretty thick, and so might be a good winter, semi-winter glove for a child or someone with a really small hand. I don't know, um, but that's a new product, never in the stores before. Actually, all products that I'm showing so far have never been in the stores before. But the next one, it's been in the store for a while because it's actually something that we made here at what I call Planet Everywhere Manufacturing, and these are the coffee filters. And the reason that, and I think I showed these not too long ago here on the product spotlight on the High Noon Hemp Show. But he had some inventory of some, they weren't ours, obviously, coffee filters, which reminded me of the universal need and want for reusable coffee filters. So if you continue to use paper coffee filters, even if they're unbleached, it's still paper, even, one way or another, it's a ridiculous idea to buy, to have to buy paper filters when you can buy one hemp filter and literally keep it for your entire life. Guarantee it. Pass it on to the kids if they need a coffee filter, or with the coffee filter if you still have a coffee filter maker, a coffee maker that takes a filter, a paper filter. More teasers, tongue twisters. I didn't come up with my tongue twister from last week, and I apologize, but I'm just going to try to make up a new one this week, one way or another. There you have it, folks, on the product spotlight 4 from the store. Now, the one from my door is one that I also mentioned I was going to show everyone, and these are my set of uh, Gateway organic golf discs. I know it's getting kind of late in the season to go out and play some disc golf, but again, my son Stefan keeps talking to me about it because he's a huge golf disc player, and they're going over to a festival in New Jersey. And he's like, "Yeah, I already found a dog gift or a disc golf course close by. We're going to go play it anyway." Um, but these are, I mean, organic using organic hemp, which is great. And again, hemp is organic by nature. You know, if you're growing for the grain, you don't need to use herbicides or pesticides. You know, and as I always like to inform people, organic is a soil rating. And so, you know, if you're going to put organic on your product or call it organic, it has to be the soil that it was grown in, more than anything. But again, it doesn't need any herbicides or pesticides when it's grown for the grain or the oil, which is where they make the hemp composite from. Just like you make plastic from petrochemical oil or oil. um, you know, I shouldn't say petrochemical oil, just oil. Um, they make hemp composite using hemp seed oil. So that's like a driver, a mid range, and a putter right there. And you know, there is a if you are a disc golfer and you have any need for a new disc at any point, go find these. They have an unbelievable selection at the website. Search for you know Gateway Disc Golf, maybe, and I forget what the name of the website was, but they have probably 1,000 plus choices of disc golfs for one, and hundreds of choices for hemp disc golfs. You know, between weight and size and mold, you know, there are a lot of choices. So um, go check that out. Get yourself some hemp discs if you need them. If you love to play, it's a huge sport here in Cincinnati. Still, there's no doubt about that. Uh, One way or another. There you have it, folks, on the product spotlight here on the High Noon Hemp Show. 4 from the store, 1 from my door.
Which, of course, as always, brings us to the beachwear segment. In every episode, you obviously get a preview. You get the shirt and the hat. You're able to see that a little trailer, a little teaser, if you will. But now is the point in the show where I ask Beach to bring up we get into the full glory of Beach's outfit for the day. When I ask, "What are you wearing, Beach?"
Yeah, super excited about today's outfit because it was made for the Bengals whiteout, not or the shirt was, I should say, made for the Bengals whiteout. On top there, we'll get to it. On top there, I've got my THC Formula grassroots hat. I had to break out again. Cold mornings here, even though the days are getting kind of nice. But this is my Rocket riding jacket. Now this riding jacket actually came fully padded, and so I took the pads out because I wear it more on a casual. And then I've got actually one that still have the pads in it that I will wear. Excuse me, when I ride. It's like a opposite color coordination, but it, you know, came fully padded as a true rider's jacket. And I really think that again, hemp canvas. If I want anything to protect my skin, as far as clothing, a hemp canvas is as good as anything. If you know taking a slide um, on a bike, and this is perfect bike weather in my opinion because you can pad up and and layer up just in case. You know, it's not for the fact that I feel like I'm going to wreck my bike. It's more that I'm worried about everyone else. And so, and that's why I don't really ride a whole lot, to be honest with you. I'm scared. I'll wholeheartedly admit that I'm scared 100% of other drivers when it comes to riding my bike. And I have a scooter, actually. Now it's a Bergman 650, which is a huge scooter. It'll go like 110 miles an hour. So it's not like a like a 35-mile-an-hour scooter. This thing's huge. It's almost too heavy. It's a real bike. Um, it's the same reason that I have a belt driven four wheeler. I'm just lazy and don't want to switch gears. And so I bought this big scooter. So um, hemp protects me when I ride my scooter 100%, no doubt about it. If I had a hemp helmet, I'd probably no, I wouldn't. I'd still wear the helmet that I wear. But anyway, on with the outfit for the most exciting part of the outfit, which is this. I call it the Hempgoal line. You know, uh, local football inspired, and everybody is doing this. I have seen every bar restaurant that we have gone in recently has like orange and black T-shirts with some type of tiger background. So I figured, you know what? The Planet Manufacturing kids came to me and they said, "Hey, let's do these," and so they did. I have what we would call white, but it's really natural. Because if you don't know, last Thursday we played on Thursday Night Football, and we had what was a white out outfit, which was our uniforms were completely white for the most part, which is not normal for the Bengals. For your non-Cincinnati fans, know what that means. And so um, love these. Probably as soon as we can strangle up some T-shirts to get them on the shelves in the stores, they'll be there. But and I have a black one too, which I really like. So exciting for my personal hemp world in clothing. Brand new T-shirt that I seriously love. Adding to the menagerie, I should say. The pants are Patagonia pants. And of course, you look in the pocket there, you'll see my Green Springs technology pen. Underneath it all is some Hemptopia briefs. And then the t-shirt is actually a Satori t-shirt. I forgot to mention that. It was a Satori t-shirt that we pulled from the store to print on. And I also have on Satori Canna-Leaf socks, and then a pair of Adidas shell toes, bringing it all together. So you're wondering, at least half of my whiteout outfit, I suppose, from the Bengals game, and of course jumping on board with, our local football team going to the Super Bowl, making a name for themselves and future prosperity and whatnot for the team. Not to be confused with a fair weather fan. I have been a Bengals fan since 1989. I believe fall of 1989 was my first Bengals game. We've had season tickets in the past, and whether they're good or bad, we still love them. But we definitely, what's that?
Some rough years.
Yeah, but it makes it a lot easier to love them. Watch them every week when they're good, possibly great. It took a couple games to get warmed up this year, which was a little scary. But I really think, Burrow, our quarterback, wasn't playing with the team. Again, I'm not going to talk Bengals for everybody. I can if you want me to, but I'm not going to because this is a show about hemp. This is as close as we get. So let's get on with it because we really do have. Now you know, what are you wearing, Beach? Here on the High Noon Hemp Show. But there's some seriously good, I don't know, decently interesting news going on out there. One way or another. Kind of sad news in a way, but Sharon Osbourne was recently talking about Ozzy Osbourne's Parkinson's disease. And she admitted, oh, there I go.
Yep.
Forgetting to turn the phone off.
Opa.
I tell you what, folks, we're only 190 episodes in. You'd almost think that I knew what I was doing. But let's not get cocky, right? Let's not get cocky. Oh, shoot. So anyway, again, sad note, Ozzy's Parkinson's, I think is getting worse, which is weird because I swear he just announced that they were going to try to do a tour. So I don't know. But she did admit in the interview that CBD is one of the best working therapeutic substances that they use, and she often, or she always makes sure that they have some with her when they travel. And I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want to draw attention to it. But risks probably traveling to places that may be questionable with it because it's one of the things that works so well. So,
Yeah.
more proof of how beneficial Parkinson's is, um, and also possibly how ridiculous some foreign policy is on CBD, one way or another. But we're slowly getting there across the planet, but we're not there yet. So again, and I always like to warn people. That's for sure. Don't just assume that CBD is legal in any other country. I don't care where you're traveling to. Do not assume that CBD is legal. Which means either make sure it's in something that they don't know what it is, and so they don't question it. If you have your tincture in a bottle that's not marked, they don't know. They're not gonna never admit to it. Tell them it's vitamin C drops, whatever.
Yeah.
If you have to, but either figure it out, be smart about it, or just know what their laws are and don't risk it. Uh, and as stupid as it is, I would say don't travel to countries that don't allow CBD because that's just not cool to begin with. Don't support that type of thing. Anyway, um, Rob Perot, first Native American to have a cannabis business in Wisconsin. It's called Candigenous, which I love the name, Candigenous. He also started a nonprofit called Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association. So, Native Americans that are interested in growing hemp in Wisconsin or possibly anywhere. I don't think it was necessarily limited. His organization is limited to Wisconsin, but I have seen over the years, and this all started with Alex Whiteplume, who was the first indigenous um, to grow industrial hemp, and this was 20 years ago. He tried to grow industrial hemp, and his story goes a little like this: he would grow industrial hemp, the federal government would come and plow it down, not arresting anyone for years, and then eventually, Alex Whiteplume was arrested. They banned him from growing hemp. Now hemp wasn't legal, but they banned him from growing hemp um, as part of his punishment. I don't believe, and I'm not positive on this that he actually ever spent any time, but he was, I think, part of, and I don't know if they ever actually charged him with anything, but part of all of these shenanigans, and again, um, this was on the reservation, uh, this, that, and all the other, years ago, years and years and years ago. Since then, I believe they have lifted the ban, and he is still a pretty large voice for industrial hemp with Native Americans or indigenous people. Um, and so, and we're seeing a lot of interest all over out west, mostly, obviously, because that's where most of the only reservations that exist are, because they pushed them off their land until they got to land that nobody wanted, which is crappy ass land. Um, just so you know, that's the story of the reservations now. They're mostly desert and almost non-viable land to begin with. But there is a lot of interest on that land to farm uh, hemp, one way or another. So that's the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association. If uh, if you know or are interested in said items. Um, and it's kind of funny because Wisconsin, I believe, is one of those states where growing for fiber is best because it's up on one of the kind of the higher latitude, which is where I've always been understood. The hemp plant grows a little taller and better for fiber. So Now, I believe they're probably growing for CBD, so we'll see where that grows, but or goes. But hopefully, once again, we can get more indigenous groups to want to grow for grain or fiber, one way or another. It's all beneficial, directly, locally, or internationally, one way or another. Um, so I guess in Asheville, a school says no to CBD. Um, and this is like an elementary school or something. Um, they say no to CBD. They say if the kid takes it, then it's considered a medicine, but it's not a medicine, so the school won't administer it, so the kids can't use it. But we're finding out that a lot of parents are saying they don't care. They are still using CBD, giving their kids CBD. Um, and again, my kid, my youngest, takes gummies to school with him every day. Vitamin C, not CBD, vitamins or whatever, that he eats with his lunch. Um, and so there would be zero way for the school to know that if you sent a couple CBD gummies with your kid at lunch, that what they were, what was inside them, one way or another. One of the parents, and this is what's crazy. This child again has a severe disorder that causes her to have fits and become semi-violent. Again, uncontrollable. And she has been using CBD to treat this, um, and working for years. And then all of a sudden, the school's saying you can't do that. And now, I mean, you know, now the kid, if they don't do that, is not as safe to herself or the other children at the school. And so, once again, I think it's a lot of ignorance. It's a lot of morality, and an issue that shouldn't be an issue. And again, I think one of the comments in the article that I read that is an argument that I use all the time is the fact that if the parents have been using this substance, and again, I don't care what it is, and they feel like it's safe for their child to use and benefits their life, how dare the school come along and say you're wrong?
Yep.
Again, I mean, somebody better prove that CBD is dangerous for children, adults, or whatever. FDA, I'm looking your way. Um, Before an individual tells a parent not to give it to their child when they've been giving it to their child and it works. It's
Yeah.
been doing what they want it to do. That's once again 100% absurd. Um, we need the studies, and again, the only CBD drug that's approved by the FDA is for children.
Hmm.
The only, I'm going to say it one more time just because of how absurd it sounds, and I cannot believe it's true. The only FDA CBD drug approved is for children. And here's a school telling parents not to give their kids CBD for whatever reason,
Hmm.
if they choose to. Again, um, Asheville, and I'm really, Asheville seems like one of the last places, in all honesty, that would be so uppity about it. They're pretty liberal and laid back and cannabis friendly, and you know, I suppose it's probably okay in Asheville for the kids to bring beer to school because beer is so readily accepted everywhere you go in Asheville. I'm sure that's not true because minors can't have beer, but I'm just saying. I mean, they sure love being surrounded by beer everywhere they go. And all of a sudden, the schools are concerned about kids using CBD. 100% absurd. In all honesty, you know, Asheville, do some research. Do some research before you start acting so silly. You know, there are studies out there, whether the FDA wants to acknowledge that or not. You know, there are plenty of studies out there that will tell you that CBD, and again, we go back to why CBD was made legal in the United States, and it was basically one little girl, Charlotte, Fiji. Um, and if you know, and honestly, if it wasn't for her and what Charlotte's Web did for CBD, I don't know if industrial hemp would be legal right now. And we're talking about, you know, she started using and becoming a voice for CBD when she was probably 5, 7 years old. You know, passed away at I think 14 just recently. Um, but again, you know, I mean, proving how much it gave her life so much of she had a much better life than she would have had without CBD. As many, you know, and all the children that have a much better life because of CBD. Um, you know, and then these kids have to suffer because the school system doesn't know anything about it. And doesn't. And here's what they really don't want to do: they don't want to be responsible for it. You know, if it was a medicine, then you could go to the school nurse and say they have to have this medicine at this time. That's not recognized as a medicine, so the nurse can't distribute it. I don't know why. Again, it's any different than vitamin C. All in all, in a gummy, if you send your kids to school with a multivitamin, a CBD gummy would be no different. You know, other than you know they get different therapeutic value out of it, obviously. But as far as safety, you know, and if it you know doesn't cause a disruption so much that you know, and again, the only thing you could do is if you gave your child too much, you know, they might be wanting to fall asleep or something in class. I don't know, but you know, even then, that would take a lot. So you know, you know, it doesn't surprise me, other than it's Asheville, but it is just so ridiculous. And you know, we're definitely going to be seeing probably more and more of this until, once again, until the FDA says safe for kids, safe for humans, safe for this, safe for that, um, and then we can move on with having children's versions of CBD. You know, no different than children's aspirin. We have aspirin, and we have children's aspirin. You know, we have all these things that are you know made for adults, medicines over the counter. I want to reiterate, over the counter, and then we have a children's version of it. You know, CBD should be no different, and it really should just be you know just the same as it is on a lot of medicines. You know, make sure you ask your doctor if they're under a certain age. Cut the dose if they're certain probably body weight or whatever, which is what a lot of over the counter drugs do now. The adult version says safe for children if it's safe for children, and then gives you a recommendation on how to use it. Um, and, you know, I can sure understand a parent's concerns if they don't know anything about it and not willing to get into it because the FDA hasn't done something officially, because there's no official word there. Even though, again, you go online and you do plenty of research, you can do your own research and figure it out for yourself. Um, you know, the FDA is still dragging their feet, and as long as they do that, you know, we will continue to fight these battles with school systems and police forces and military and all the other people that are told they can't use this um, for no reason at all. I mean, there's no legal basis, there's no safety basis, there's no reason for any organization anywhere to tell someone to tell a human they can't use CBD, especially can't use hemp, which is the thing with the military. But I've talked about that, and I'll save that for the next military story that I see about how they can't use shampoo because that would be against the policy of the military. Um, Now, this is something that I really like to see, and it's interesting feedback too. But there was a farmer in Pennsylvania who grew a tri crop. So they grew one crop for CBD, they grew one crop for fiber, and they grew one crop for grain. And again, this is the way every hemp farm. This is the way I would love to see every hemp farm set up. In all honesty, so it gets a little bit of everything. Um, CBD flower, they said, was easy to harvest. He basically just hooked a conveyor belt up to a tractor that then the field workers just went through and cut the tops, cut the flowers off, threw it on the conveyor belt. The conveyor belt took the flowers to the truck or a trailer. And then, that was it basically with harvesting the CBD done by hand. Um, the fiber plants, this is kind of interesting. He had a contract with Biofill Fibers. So if you want to grow fiber, get in touch with these guys because they have government money to spend to grow and study uh, hemp fiber. They had to grow 12-foot plants. That's what they wanted for this. So basically, when the plants got to 12 feet, so they cut them early or a little early because they cut them when the plants got to 12 feet. Um, and he said it was super easy. They used what was called a double sickle bar mower, which would have gone along the ground basically, and cut the hemp plants off pretty low. And he said it cut the hemp like a hot knife through butter. So again, right machinery, super easy to harvest hemp for fiber. And this was, back in the day, which is, before 1937. The only reason, one of the really the only reasons that we grew industrial hemp was for the fiber, the ropes and the clothing and all that stuff. Um, and it was all done by hand. And they would cut it with a sickle, so you'd walk through the field with a sharp sickle, and you'd swap it off there. Um, and then he did say that they were allowing it to ret, which means what they do is they build the hemp stalks up into like a pyramid, and they leave it in the field over the winter so that it gets the cold and the rain and the different weather, and it breaks that stalk, makes it much easier because in the past you couldn't just use a brake, which was a big wooden machine, big wooden thing that basically had big wooden blocks alternating each other from the top and the bottom. And you'd pick it up and you'd put the hemp in there and you'd smash it down and it would break the stalk. And that's how they would do it in the fields. And again, much easier in the spring after the hemp had been retted as opposed to trying to do it when the hemp was fresh in the fields. Um, so basically, they just came along, cut it off, do an old school process of retting. You can do water retting, which I believe is how Mike Lewis was doing it down in Kentucky, where you literally put the hemp stalks in a big pool of water. They used to do it, I believe, in the creeks if you had a creek big enough. And then you just leave it in there for a certain amount of time. And that speeds up the process of softening or being able to break up the stalk. Um, so, uh, you know, once again, super easy. Now, the grain, he said, he had a little bit of an issue with the grain field. One, and I did know that basically all you have to do is convert a certain combine. Now, he said that his combine wasn't maybe the best choice to try to do this with, and it got jammed up. And again, so then you got the combine coming through, and it's got a blade, and it's cutting like this basically, and it cuts and then brings the cut material back through the combine. Um, and so you're growing for the grain, so you're really, once again, really just trying to cut the top off as you're going through. But because that hemp stalk is so strong and that fiber's in there, I think it got bound up. Now, I don't think this is, this is obviously not an issue that the Canadians have. They've tweaked their machinery, and I do believe that's what it takes is a little bit of tweaking of the combine to make it all go properly. And again, I think that if he'd had the right combine, um, he wouldn't have had an issue. But he did, and they had to get in there and cut out the hemp from jamming it up a little bit. And he also mentioned something that I really wasn't aware of, and I'm somewhat surprised. He says that if the hemp seed, the grain isn't stored correctly pretty quickly, like within hours, is what he said, then it can go bad. Um, and so, obviously, that is a part of the grain industry, farming in the grain industry that I was not aware of, to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't know that you really basically had to rush that grain into a. It's probably, again, it has to be dry because of the moisture, and the moisture causes the mold. That again, moisture would make the seeds go bad quickly. I can see that, and so there's a little bit of finickiness to the grain part. When it comes, but again, I think that the Canadians don't have a problem. I think knowing these things obviously is a learning testament. He said he probably won't grow for grain again um, because of those things. But that probably, if he wanted to, and I get it, he'd have to get that right combine head or that perfect combine right, and that's a whole nother piece of machinery, and then possibly have to invest in some type of silo or grain storage that was did drying or some type of drying process. So not quite as easy as we've been making it over the years, but I think it's still pretty easy. I think that the most interesting is how easy it is to grow for the fiber, obviously, and I think the grain would be once again decently easy um, with the right machinery and the right way of doing it. And so, uh, but I commend him, and that's why I was going to do it, just so everyone was clear. If it wouldn't have cost me $2,000 a license for each one of those crops alone, because it would have, because I would have been growing three different kinds of industrial hemp, and in the state of Ohio, you have to have a license for that. But that was my plan when they were legalizing it. Before I found out what it would really take as far as financially and all the testing and all the stuff that they were wanting to do. I was going to do CBD, fiber, and grain, and do a tri crop myself. And so I love that. I love that this farmer did it, and I hope other farmers try it and figure out whether they can have success to help people with others, or just commit to growing for grain, grow for fiber, whatever. There's enough CBD, so I'm not going to say do that, but you can grow. I think a lot of just like this, you can supplement maybe a little bit of a loss, or maybe even just break it even with the fiber or the grain, because there's still a demand for CBD, even though we have a lot of CBD in the world, one way or another. Uh, and so, because again, at this point, we're now taking that CBD and uh, getting all these others, Delta 8, Delta 10, THC 9, HHC, all these other things. They still have to have that CBD flower or even that CBG flower um, to get all of that stuff legally. So there's still quite a demand for it. It's just going in a different direction now. Oh, we do have a picture of this shoe. This shoe was developed by UC San Diego students, and it is made of hemp and algae. It's called Blue View Footwear. They've already sold, I think, 1,000 pairs of this thing, and it was just a kind of a project. But the uppers are all hemp. The sole is made from algae. Once again, I think they have like a 90-day biodegradability. They even went and put a pair of these or pairs of these in the ocean to see how it would break down. And they had scuba divers that went down and checked on them, and the hemp deteriorated um, semi quickly in the ocean water. And again, you don't have any herbicides or pesticides; it's all natural. I would believe that those particles of hemp would be safe even for fish to eat or plankton or whatever if they got broken down into really small pieces. I'm not saying there's any nutritional value to the fish for that, but I'm just saying that, it's not like when they eat plastic and then if we find it in their stomachs, micro, tiny, little, tiny amounts of that. And then, of course, the algae also breaks down, and, fish eat algae one way or another, or, it then becomes, beneficial almost to the environment, you know, and so I'm not saying buy a pair of these, wear them out, and then throw them in the ocean. But if you wanted to, I'd be okay with it. That's what they're made for. And again, they're called the Blue View Footwear. You can go online. They're not super cheap, um, but I feel like as far as an environmental shoe, this is like top of the line right there. Can't get much better for the planet than that. Um, so good for them. And again, kids doing research proving that these things can work. We like it. We like it a lot. Um, NASDA, which is like the National Association of Agriculture or something, recently had their big meeting and they tabled a proposal to lift some of the requirements for industrial hemp, basically due to ignorance. Now, this was all over the idea of being able to plant THC Delta 9 cannabis in the middle of your industrial hemp field, which has literally been the argument against industrial hemp for the last like 30 or 40 or 50 years. That's what they've been telling us forever and ever and ever. No, we're not going to legalize industrial hemp because then you're going to grow marijuana in the middle of the field. Now, they didn't make corn illegal when everybody was growing their cannabis in the middle of the cornfields, or tomatoes illegal when people were growing their cannabis in the middle of the tomato fields. But they kept industrial hemp illegal for as long as they could, using the argument that you will grow your marijuana in those fields, which is true. People have done that. Again, I'm not saying that I never once said that it wouldn't exist if it happened. Here's the problem. Okay. Now, if you're growing for CBD, sure, it looks the same. That's the difference now. And that's where I think people are trying to do things that they shouldn't be doing. And again, yes, that's illegal and whatever. They should be held accountable. No different than the government says it's illegal to grow cannabis in my backyard. Again, it's not like we didn't change. We're not trying to change the laws, and we're not saying people shouldn't be held accountable for their stupid laws, and they are. I don't, and until cannabis is federally legal for all its benefits, um, sure, people can grow it anywhere if they want to for that purpose. Um, but can't happen with fiber or grain. Okay, it can't happen with grain 100% because for grain you need the male plant. Okay, if you have the male plant and you're growing your marijuana in the middle of a grain field, well, guess what's going to happen? That male germination is going to cross into your marijuana and it's going to degrade the quality. And this is what we said. This was our argument to the law enforcement for as long as it can be. Like, if you really want to stop people from growing marijuana, legalize industrial hemp, because it will screw up the complete supply chain. Because even if you're growing, in Kentucky, this is probably becoming somewhat of an issue. If you're growing even a mile or two, maybe 5 miles away from an industrial hemp field, that germplasm will get in the air and go. And all of a sudden, once again, your plants are full of seeds, which degrades the THC content, delta 9 content, and makes it less valuable to you. That would happen and is happening, I am sure. Um, you know, I think the fiber plant. I think you try to go mostly. I think, and I don't know if it matters whether you do the male or the female in the field. Um, I would think they're both there to make the grain for next year's crop or whatnot. So once again, that would degrade any marijuana. Now, if you're growing for CBD, that's seedless. They're growing, and so, I can see how you could do that. But this in no way, once again, here we go again with criminalizing a legal plant. You're criminalizing industrial hemp by associating it with the probability or the possibility of someone doing something illegal with another plant that's illegal. Okay? This cannabis is not legal, according to the federal government. Might be legal in certain states, but not to the federal government. This cannabis, industrial hemp, is 100% legal. 100% legal to be treated like corn or soybean, not like this cannabis. Even though they shouldn't treat this cannabis like that, um, they do and they are still, and so that is what it is. But to demonize and to hold that against industrial hemp is once again the zero reason. That's why I got to pay $2,000 licensing in Ohio. That's why I got to have your plants tested here and there and everywhere for THC content. Um, and again, uh, just ridiculous treatment. If you want to make me treat or test my cannabis product, it should be the one that goes to the shelf, not the one coming out of the field. And then if it has too much of something in it you don't like, then that's an issue. In all honesty, and that's the way it should be. It should be the end product should be the one tested, if that's what they really want to do. But they messed up there and they didn't make it the end product, and now we can have legal THC Delta 9 products extracted from industrial hemp. So, but it really shouldn't be tested at all. It shouldn't. Again, it should just be like, this is what I'm growing. And again, if it comes up wrong somewhere, I guess, then that's the issue. If it hits the shelves and then it's tested and someone comes and says, hey, this has got more than it should have, or then prove that it didn't, or whatever. I don't know. But it's all part of demonizing this plant that doesn't deserve to be demonized, and still happening, and why we do the High Noon Hemp Show every week. Hippo Premium Packaging has unveiled its earth-friendly collection, and that includes hemp packaging. They have won a Clio, which is some cannabis award, which I don't know if I can be nominated for a Clio. Spelled CLIO. I don't know. I don't know who does those or not, but I feel like I should have a lifetime Clio award. But I commend Hippo Premium Packaging for using earth-friendly, or having an earth-friendly collection, and then using hemp in some of those as far as packaging goes. So, and we're seeing more and more of this, whether it's hemp composite for pre-rolls or hemp paper boxes. We're seeing a lot more of this go on in the industry. And apparently, this is interesting. I did not know this. Do not tell the TSA that your CBD product might have 0.3% THC in it. Because if you do, they will take it. This happened this happened in Colorado, but of course this is an interesting situation because these particular hemp products were actually clones. So this gentleman was traveling with about 20 hemp clones, plants, live plants, had the paperwork signifying it was industrial hemp, blah blah blah. On that paperwork, it did say, legal amount 0.3% or 0.3% THC, which is when TSA informed the person, nope, our policy is 0% THC. And so they confiscated his plants. He is now suing to make it legal to fly with that 0.3% THC industrial hemp. Again, absolutely absurd. And I don't know how many people, and again, I think, they know better with CBD products. They don't mess with them. But that being said, all of a sudden, so what is your real policy? Because guess what? That makes 3/4 of the CBD products going through TSA not legal to go through TSA or to fly with because they have that 0.3% or less legal amount of THC. And I should say there more than 0.00%. So it'd have to be an isolate or it'd have to be broad spectrum to have 0.00 THC delta 9 in it. Which is obviously a huge issue if they really knew or were really paying attention. So that's a ridiculous policy. Hopefully, he wins the right to sue TSC, and then when he does, they change that policy. But until then, tell them your CBD has 0.00% THC delta 9 in it, one way or another, which you could not do. And there was rumors there was a cannabis plant that was bred that had 0.00% THC, but I'm still leery, and I haven't seen 100% proof of that. But there's been 2 claims so far, and the first one, that company, those the farmers that were growing and processing in Lexington, have actually gone out of business. And so I think that claim was unsubstantiated. And then there was another one I think I saw, but I don't know if we've gotten verification on a cannabis plant with 0.000% THC, which again would be a game changer, but not necessary. I mean, we need to be going the other direction. Let's allow more THC delta 9, but current standards going, if you can come up with a 0.00%, you would be huge worldwide, one way or another. The Oregon Department of Agriculture is looking for 9 volunteers to be hemp commissioners. So if you are in the hemp industry, industrial hemp industry, I think they're looking for a little bit of everything. They're looking for farmers, they're looking for processors, a little bit of everything. And you want to be a hemp commissioner, which sounds great. I would volunteer for that in Ohio. If I ever heard that Ohio was looking for hemp commissioners, paid or unpaid, I would jump on that in a heartbeat. And so if you're in Oregon and you're in the hemp industry, with any level, get a hold of the Department of Agriculture, see what they're looking for. And I think it's regional. I think that's it too. So they're looking for people in different parts of the industry, and then they're looking for different. I think they had at least 4 different regions of the state that they were looking, I think, to have a commissioner for or whatnot. So right on. Good job, Oregon. I don't know if it's really good or bad. Again, I guess it depends on who really volunteers and what they really have to do. But I would be a hemp commissioner in Ohio if it just meant, I maybe could go check out hemp fields and promote the heck out of it.
Yeah.
but I think I do that anyway. Uh, Seiko, and I've shown this watch head before, but they're releasing a new color kakiro, which is often used in kabuki costumes, of the asanoha or classic Japanese hemp leaf pattern. And I've shown this before, um, but this is a well-known pattern of fabric and other things in Japan, and it's based on the hemp leaf. And so, and Seiko, it's probably been a year or so ago, but they it seems like they released a new watch with this pattern, this uh, head, so to speak, pattern, um, face pattern, once every year or two. And so this is just a new color for that. And I know the last time I think it was green. I think the one I showed on the show years ago was green, which was pretty cool. Huckberry, website Huckberry, has the Wellen hemp teas on sale through October. So Huckberry, Huckberry, and they have all kinds of different clothing, I think, but they do have the Wellen hemp tea on sale. So if you're looking to get a hemp tea and you don't want to spend full price, go to Huckberry. Um, okay, researchers created and I'm going to get this word wrong. It's oleo gel formulation. Now, what that really means is like a butter-like spread consistency. Okay, now they've been working on making these butter-like spreads using 12 kinds of vegetable oils. Most recently, adding hemp. And it was really interesting is the fact that they have now kind of made one of these using hemp, which doesn't surprise me at all. Um, and then they go on to say because it's rich in beneficial polyunsaturated fats and antioxidants, including vitamin E. It's a little bit better than most of the formulations that they've come up with so far. Um, non-dairy butter-like spreads is what they're trying to come up with. And so this was published in the Journal of American Oil Chemists Society. So if you want more information on that, go ahead. But feel free to make your own butter-like spread out of hemp hearts because I think it might not be too difficult. In all honesty, I don't know about getting that taste, but as far as getting that kind of consistency in that spread, I could definitely see that. I could see whipping hemp hearts into a whip, adding a little bit of something maybe to make a spread with it, no doubt about it. Because we have hemp butter, which is basically like a peanut butter made out of hemp that is spreadable. So it doesn't surprise me that it works, and of course it's probably better than most of the other ones that they're using as far as vegetables. Um, and speaking of hemp seed oil, this is a quote. Hemp seed oil is used for a multitude of skin and hair problems, but the one unique ability that stands out is its knack for fighting frizz. So, this was actually an article from a online site that's in India. And India is hemp is for food, for clothing, for everything. Skin products is really making a huge move in India, and it doesn't surprise me. There's a demand for the products, especially here in America, where Indians are trying to make products to rival Chinese products. It's a huge agricultural country, one way or another. And again, as far as a food product, they need as much food as possible alone, being one of the most, if not, I think they're second to China in population, one way or another. A billion and a half people.
Yeah.
So the grain benefits alone are unbelievable. Not to mention, it came basically from the Himalayas, the Tibetan plateau, and cannabis, the plant, millions of years ago. This is where it came from. And so, it's like as local can be if they grow it in India. So, and that's why the Chinese grow it so much, have grown it so largely. And again, this has been a part. Industrial hemp has been a part of the Indian culture of India and China for 5,000 years plus, documented, basically. Uh, and the grain again was part of India's top five grains thousands of years ago. Uh, and it's going to make a return, no doubt about it. Obviously, that oil, obviously, it must be good at fighting frizz in your hair, which also doesn't surprise me. So maybe a hemp shampoo if you get frizzy hair when it's dry or whatnot, or certain conditions. I don't know what really causes that. Then remember, hemp oil is good for that. Of course it is. I mean, of course it is. And an article on migraines says that massages and CBD oil can be used to keep stress and anxiety low and prevent migraines, which makes sense. Again, I think uh, using it for anxiety definitely and stress, and I feel like even trying, and I don't know, which will be interesting when the migraine hits, putting that CBD under the tongue, letting it get run through the brain. There was always a rumor, and again, never medically proven because we can't, that Delta 9 was good for migraines. Um, and I think there's some truth to it, because I think a lot of people use THC Delta 9 for migraines. I wish we could do the research, but we can't in the United States because cannabis isn't legal for that federally to do research. So, all right. We don't really have too many events. October 11th to the 12th, you got the International Hemp Building Symposium in France. It's not too late to get over there if you want to go to that. I think there's going to be a lot of people worth talking to in the around the world when it comes to construction and using hemp. October 21st, you got the Hemp Hootenanny and the Harvest Market at Allen Brook Farms in Spring Hill, Tennessee. And then November 3rd, you have the Annual Science of Hemp Conference, Production and Pest Management down in Lexington, Kentucky. And so that would be another good one for farmers, no doubt about it. Well, I do have a question. I did get a question from a viewer, a longtime viewer, longtime pro-cannabis human. And basically, she says, what is the largest amount of hemp hearts you can buy to save money? Because, the packages that you get at most grocery stores, she says, I can eat those by the handful and they don't last long, which is what someone else said too. And I get that, because, they are a great food product, and a couple spoonfuls 2 or 3 times a day even is probably unbelievable health benefits. And so, my advice is, in all honesty, is to search online. Go find a bulk hemp seed maybe site, and order a couple pounds as opposed to a 16-ounce bag, which is a pound, I guess. And I think that's about the biggest bag you can get now. I feel like Manitoba even had a bigger bag, but I don't know if that's true anymore. I think that was their bigger bag or their biggest bag. And of course, it's still a little expensive. So I understand that it's tough to put it on the shelves for a lot uh, bigger quantities because it's still somewhat expensive, especially if you try if you're using the organic hemp hearts. Um, but again, we're hopefully going to see those prices come down. And I have found bulk hemp seed online in the past, and so even if you could find a 5 pound bag that didn't cost too much and have it shipped to your house, um, You could eat the heck out of that for a little while, one way or another. But I understand the issue because even that 16-ounce bag of hemp hearts is not super cheap.
Mhm.
And when you're eating them, um, like that by the handful, that doesn't last long. And so, um, look online, keep support the industry the best you can by buying them. When you can, where you can, and hopefully, we'll be seeing those prices come down where they can put a pound bag on the shelf and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, one way or another. And again, I think the freshness is also an issue. Sometimes when it comes to larger quantities and whatnot, and so you got to kind of be careful of that as well. But I think they're doing better at keeping it fresher longer without obviously having to add any type of preservatives or anything. And that's the process to which they get it to the heart somehow, which I know that that goal has always been out there with hemp foods for 20 years now. Is how can we keep hemp fresher longer? Because like most foods, when they're especially organic or natural, not full of preservatives, they go bad quicker. You buy an organic tomato, it's going to go bad much quicker than if you buy one that's been sprayed with some chemical that keeps it fresher longer. That's nature, folks. I mean, that's the way we want it, and those are the obstacles. But the more demand, the more supply, the fresher it stays, and the more that they work on processes to keep it fresher for us, so we can keep it in our shelves, on the shelves longer, whether we're eating it or not eating it at our homes. So there you have it, folks. A complete High Noon Hemp Show, question included this week. I sure appreciate everybody watching. If you're not watching live, then you're watching later, and we appreciate that. No doubt about it. I want everybody to remember: reduce, reuse, recycle, make everything else out of hemp. Having hemptations.
See y'all next week.